This is Black Woman CEO. Welcome to the only podcast dedicated to giving you the raw and real experiences of successful Black women entrepreneurs. Yes, girl, we're talking about the behind-the-scenes strategies of what it takes to increase in your profit, power, and purpose. I am your host, Quanisha Green, and I invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy today's show. Hey there. This is Quanisha Green, your host and head sister in charge here at Black Woman CEO. And I'm so excited to come to you today with an interview with Angela Randolph, one of our CEO expert interviews. Hey, Angela.
Hello, how are you?
I'm well today. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well.
Awesome. So I'm so excited to bring you, Angela, to, I guess you can say, the Black Woman CEO stage. We've been connected on LinkedIn for a while, and I've always enjoyed reading your articles, particularly around like finance, accounting, right? Like one thing you have, accounting is a language of business. Angela is a CPA, which she can tell you more about what that means. And that way, and she's very passionate about empowering and equipping entrepreneurs with the financial knowledge and business acumen needed to have a profitable business. Who wants more money? Who wants more profit? Right?
That's right.
So I'm so excited to have her on, and she's going to share about her journey, but also some tips around managing cash flow during periods of uncertainty. And as of this recording, we're kind of coming out of the social distancing and so many other things around the coronavirus. But as she said, it's uncertainty. So even if we don't have, like, say, a mass global pandemic, you still want to think about some of these effective tips and strategies, because uncertainty happens all the time in our business. So I'm so excited to bring her. And she's going to, as always have my guests introduce themselves, because I think they, do it best, better, instead of just reading their bio. But Angela, before we get into what you do, can you tell us who you be? So really describing yourself beyond what you do.
Well, who I am a very passionate person about life, period. Not just finances, but I really enjoy living life to the fullest. I really value family and friendships and relationships. And I really, really like getting down to the core of what makes people who they are, and doing a lot of the self-care work or self-work, trying to figure out what it is that drive people to certain behaviors. And I've had to do that with myself as well in terms of my personal finances back in 2015. So when I work with entrepreneurs, it goes deeper than just knowing the numbers, but I also get into the behaviors and things that can help change their lifestyle and get them closer to the goals that they want to achieve.
Awesome. So can you tell us a little bit about that? So, like, what do you see as your particular mission? And can you break down a bit what you do in supporting entrepreneurs?
So my mission, I really started out targeting women of color. We're starting businesses at record numbers, and I really personally wanted to see those businesses scale and be profitable. I wanted women to be able to have financial security and independence and be able to leave a legacy for their families, independent of anybody else. A lot of people struggle in this area of finances, both on a business and a personal side. They're very closely related in terms of how we run our households, how we address issues related to taxes. And there's a lot of anxiety and frustration and stress around that area. And I understand it. I get it. So I really want to help navigate people in these areas so that they can move past some of these very valid feelings and emotions, and a lot of it's because we've not been educated. We don't know what the rules are, what the laws are, and we're opening up these businesses. It's a lot to shoulder when you're trying to do it by yourself. My mission really is to help guide women and other business owners to get them closer to their goals, to achieving their financial goals.
And within that, is there, because I want to ask you about your expertise and why it's important, but you just put in the context of kind of, particularly, I guess you using more the U.S. statistics of women of color, particularly Black women were the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs. But what we don't share in that statistic, which you likely know, is that we make the least amount of average gross revenue, right? The
Right.
statistic used to be $27,753 of the last census, which was done in 2012, but all the projections and even the 2019 State of Black Women-Owned Businesses projected and kind of saw in the last 2 years, we went down. Our average gross revenue is $24,000 a year. And so for the listeners, we're at the bottom if you arrange this by gender. We're at the bottom if you arrange this by race. So by both race and gender, we are in the lowest tier. So can you talk more about that area of expertise and maybe even why people should look for a CPA and not just, anyone who does this? And then even in that kind of nitty gritty, why is it so important?
It's definitely important because the fundamentals around business is making a profit. And we can't be afraid to value ourselves and charge prices that reflect the impact that we have on our clients. And I think traditionally, and maybe it's through upbringing or stereotypical roles, women may shy away from really charging what they're worth or sticking to negotiated prices or things like that. And so I really, through my work, I show people the numbers. I say, listen, you're not charging enough for this. Your costs are exceeding, so it's kind of like black and white supporting. You need to increase your prices in order to get your margins where you want to be, and it's okay to do that because I believe the market rewards excellence.
Right.
If people know that you're an expert in what you do, they will find the resources to work with you. You can't be afraid to maybe upset people. If they've been an existing client, you need to increase your prices because inflation happens, you know what I mean? And so everybody has to adjust. So yeah, I really want to see us charge what we're worth, really work with CPAs or CFOs, not just at tax time, but you need to throughout the entire year be with someone advising you on how your finances, the health of your business, the decisions that you need to make need to be guided through those numbers and not on emotion. So yeah, definitely it all works together. You really need to build a team when you have a business because you can't do everything yourself. It's just impossible. And if you're talking about growing and scaling, it's never going to happen in a solo operation. Just never.
I think that's actually one of the things I teach folks, particularly in reducing overwhelm, but even in that growth of scaling, is that you have to ask for help. And I find that so many Black women are hesitant to ask for help because it's a trust issue. Yes. And Angela, you may have heard this. I know my grandma said it all the time. If I want something done right, I have to do it myself.
Do it myself. That's right.
Right. So we're operating from this chief everything officer versus a chief excellence officer. So I'm glad that you talked about operating in excellence. And I know my business, so she probably like, don't do that. So when I used to do before I did my taxes, and I'm organized as an LLC, but now an S Corp. But when it was just an LLC, so limited liability company, for those of you who are listening and don't know that term, I would literally wait until like it was time to do taxes. And I would do my whole profit and loss statements for the whole year. So literally I would spend like 20 hours in a day. She's probably shaking her head like, girl.
It's not an uncommon thing. It happens a lot.
And wasn't until, so now it's like January, my husband's like, we got to do our taxes. You need to hurry up. And now at the end, I'm like, wow, I spent too much money on this. I spent too much money on show coaching. And I was tracking it along the way. I would have maybe saw, I wouldn't say they were red flags, but I would have seen where the spending was going and make changes.
Right.
So in the last year, I actually hired an accountant. And as Angela said, it's so different when someone's kind of watching your money and she's like, wait, you're spending too much in this area. What was this? She's like, you are paying for the same things over and over again. How to reduce like the services. If there's duplicates, you need to look for a new one. So having someone that's not just a bookkeeper, right? Because the year before last, I had a bookkeeper, I had a service, but they didn't give me any advice, right? So now having someone watching the numbers and giving me kind of guidance is such a game changer, particularly as I grow and scale. So I know you wanted to talk about managing cash flow during periods of uncertainty. So do you find that do a lot of entrepreneurs do what I did when it was like
yes, it's very common.
years?
That's why I'm shaking my head. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you have anything to speak to that. And then particularly there were like things you wanted to talk about, particular like around managing cash flow. And I'd love to hear that before we get into more of like your journey.
Sure. Cash management is so important, even in normal economic conditions, because without it, you can't pay the bills. You can't pay employees, you can't pay the rent. You can show a net loss, but still have continuous cash flow coming into the business. But you won't survive very long with poor cash management or negative cash flow. So the cash flow statements, I think, is kind of up there in terms of importance. When you go to get loans from the bank, or you try to get investors to invest in your business, they're going to see how you're managing cash flow. It's not enough to make the sale, but you have to collect that money. And you can't be afraid to have like difficult conversations with clients who are not paying you on time. You may have to sever that relationship, because if you're still offering services, well, you're doing it for free at this point because you're not getting paid. Or if you're, advancing products to people and they haven't paid in full, that's problematic. And what you mentioned earlier about having money just coming out the business and you're just totally unaware because you're not watching it on a periodic basis. When you sign up and have people draft money out of your bank account on a recurring basis, you may not even be utilizing that service or product, and it's just coming out and coming out. And so it's just things like that that really need to be watched on a consistent basis, and in times of uncertainty, you have to have more than one stream. Because if something happens, let's say, for instance, the restaurant industry, so when they shut down the restaurant dining in, those who weren't able to pivot to delivery, they suffered. They suffered. There was a local restaurant. Well, it's not really local. It's throughout Texas as well. But this Papa's chain, they were very popular, but they didn't use any of the delivery apps. They didn't have any delivery service. They were really slow to do curbside. And so now they're shutting down their restaurants all throughout the city. It was very sad to hear, but for those that were ready to pivot, they were ready to really deliver services in a way that they can get it to their clients and customers, they're staying in the game, with the assistance with the government, with the PPP and EIDL loans and stuff like that. But you have to kind of, or not even invent, but just kind of be prepared to creatively get your services and products out there. For people who've had to shift from having a storefront to providing services and products online now. A lot of my clients are in the mental health field, so they were ready for telemedicine. They were able to still continue to service their clients, but just in a different way, not in person. So just having the ability to be open to shift in the way that you deliver your services, being prepared for disruptions in supply chain, that's been a big major thing. People can't get the goods that they need to resell to their customers and clients. You may have to have more than one supplier. And so there are just so many things that this is kind of new for our generation. We haven't experienced anything like this before, but and especially on a global scale, regionally things happen during hurricane season, but it doesn't disrupt like a nationwide supply chain and things like that. So it's definitely, and the government recognizes that because that's why they're really stepping in to help small businesses, which they classify as 500 or less employees, but that's the SBA's definition of it. And having a team of people to kind of help you develop different ways of doing business will help you. You know what I mean? Because you can't, again, especially during times of uncertainty, you want to be able to at least have an advisor or a coach or someone on your team that's looking out for the business's best interests. And then you guys can brainstorm together to come up with different ways of, delivering and reaching your client.
So two heads are better than one, everyone.
Yes.
And so I did an episode on 10 steps to virus proof your business, like when Corona first hit us. So I was like March 12th is when that came out. For me, March 13th, I count because that was the day my child's school said, oh, we're closing, and then they never reopened. That's when, for me, coronavirus hit the United States. As far as like how we were reacting to it. But one of the tips was diversify your revenue stream.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have some diversity, and it doesn't always mean like, I think people think, oh, I got to create all these products, right? But it's like, do you have one-to-one services? Do you have a leverage program? Do you sell digital products? And this can also be under your umbrella of expertise, right? So
That's
it doesn't
right.
have to be, oh, I got to sell Avon and
right.
And if you do that, that's fine, right? But it still can be under your business focus and umbrella. And, JV partnerships, right? And I love what you said around pivoting. I called it realigning because I feel like sometimes people hear that word pivot too, and they think, oh, I have to do something totally different.
Right.
Where it's just realigning with what your ideal client needs, particularly in this time of uncertainty, right? So I knew people need to think about making money and captivating clients more so than maybe the whole business foundation. So it was like, look, here's how we bring in revenue, how are we responding to people, how are you showing up as a thought leader? So I love that you talked about that, pivoting. And once again, I had support, right? I had a mastermind. I had coaches that was helping me to do this. So we don't always have to do all this by ourselves because we have blind spots too, right?
That's right.
Right. And I saw so many people because of confidence, which you said earlier, right? And the emotions, they started to shrink, right? Because of the fear, because of the uncertainty, and didn't step into the lights, right? Being a thought leader and showing up because I was like, we definitely need people at this time. So I love that you talked about, to me, it echoed. I'm like, oh, okay, I got it right. Cause she's like confirming all the things I said in the virus.
It's
right?
true.
The CPA is saying, right?
It's true. It's really true because you think about, oh, maybe I shouldn't be advertising right now because it's such a, people are dealing with maybe a sick relative or they may be sick themselves, but all of the people that need your help and your expertise, now is the time for you to step up and for you really to, offer that service. And if you're passionate about it, if you really want to deliver, value to people, don't shrink, don't hide. Now is the time. People are online. You have their attention. The distractions are probably, you're not competing with, people traveling and going out. So now is the time to really captivate your audience and really deliver, what it is that you have to offer. So that may be the human inclination to do that. Because I had a little bit of that at first. And my business advisor was like, listen, people need CPAs now more than ever. Now is not the time to, people are still in business and people have to make money and have to come up with different ways. And people need assistance with these loans and what do they need? How can they apply? Do they qualify? So I was like, you know what? You're right. People. So, we all go through it. But when you have that team that's pushing you and past your discomfort level, because I'm an introvert. I'm an introvert.
Me too. People don't think I am. I say I'm an introvert with extroverted tendencies. But yeah, we need that time. We like, I don't want to deal with people right now. I got my own stuff going on. I need to recharge.
That's right. So, but yeah, definitely, now is the time to really go out there because without sales, without marketing, how are you going to generate consistent revenue? It's like a necessity. You have to have it, and you have to get comfortable with it, or you need to hire people who are experts in it.
And I just want to highlight that here's the financial business advisor saying she has her own business advisor. So I just wanted to pull that out, that even just how coaches have coaches, therapists have therapists, right? Experts have experts. So I just wanted to pull that out. I love that you said that and showing how, you're leading by example, right? In your own business. So with that, how did you come to own your role as an expert and CEO? What did that look like for you?
Well, I've been in the field 25 years. It's been a long time. I got my CPA in 1998. I was working in corporate America. I started out in government doing audits, state audits, and then I moved into public accounting and then doing accounting and finance in corporate America. So I've been in the field for a very, very long time. After the last corporate layoff, I said, okay, I don't ever want to go through this again. So I went into federal government, right? And then eventually I decided I'm not going to achieve my financial goals with this salary because I had like some big lofty goals and challenges with dealing with family and finances. So I said, you know what? Why not leverage my existing skill set and start a business? I knew so many other people that were doing the same thing. I was started out as it only going to be a side business, but the more I got into it, the more I connected with people that needed my help. I just went all in. I hired a business coach, branding, website. I mean, I went all in because I just said that this is a viable service that business owners need, and then I have a tax background as well, tax compliance. And there's a lot of anxiety people have around the IRS. And I get it. Listen, when they send something to me, I was like, no, wait a minute. What is this? And
one thing you don't want. I'm like, I don't mess with the IRS. I don't want them to anything.
Right. So I get it. So because of my experience with them and knowing the compliance requirements and things like that, I want to help business owners in that area as well. I'm actually developing a course right now on everything you need to know when you open a business about tax compliance. Because when you put that shingle up or that digital shingle up, you're going to be responsible for it, as a business owner. So I really want to kind of help alleviate some of the anxiety people have around that, because ignoring the problem is the worst thing that you can possibly do. So that's how I really, and when I started doing training workshops and webinars and some of the feedback and reaction that I got to it, I was like, okay, because, when you're in your silo of colleagues who all have the same education and experience, no access to people who don't know that, you just assume that, oh, everybody knows this. Well, everybody doesn't know this. What you have is you have something to value. People need to hear from you. People consider you a thought leader. So that's how I really kind of stepped into the role, by just interacting with people, finding out what their needs were, and just acting on that.
So I love that you recognize your expertise. You're like, wait a minute, I got this and this and this and this. You saw in a way that maybe it wasn't being undervalued in the workplace, but you saw that there was a limitation to it, which I think that's also why we're seeing, I don't want to call it mass exodus, because I feel like you said, we're the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs, but so many, and the research shows that so many of us are actually starting side businesses, right? So having a parallel business in addition to our 9-to-5, right? And you saw your goals and you were like, okay, this is not going to be the way.
Right.
I need to add some revenue streams once again.
That's right.
I love that you just owned your expertise. Sounds like from the very beginning. And then as you got real world feedback, you saw even more that your services were needed in the marketplace, right? And I love that. It sounds like you're coming from a service oriented, like, hey, I'm here to serve, right?
Right.
You deserve to get paid.
That's right.
One thing we particularly love to do here in our Black Woman CEO podcast is give that behind the scenes experience, because I know for me, when I started, I was like, how are people making money? How are you even having kids and running a business? Right. So I started this podcast to be nosy with other Black women and my mentors, because I was like, okay, thank you for the skill stuff. I need to know like the life stuff. So with that, what were some of your earlier challenges that you faced and how did you overcome them?
A challenge that I have, and I try to share this with people to let them know, even though I'm, been in the accounting and finance, tax industry for a long time, I'm still a human being. I still have emotions. I still have life things that happen to me. And so I was a spender. Now that worked well when I was in corporate America, getting bonuses and salaries and all my benefits paid for. But when I transitioned to government, that did not work out so well. The bonuses were not there, moving and having car breakdowns. So I had to really address my excessive spending on the personal side. I had to address it. And I didn't even know that it was emotional spending that I was doing. I'd get triggered by something. Here comes Amazon with some packages or something, because I was just unconscious, it's just an unconscious thing. So I had to hire a personal financial advisor. We sat down, I told her what my goals were. But before then, I had to kind of reveal I was tracking everything, but I wasn't changing my behaviors. You know what I
Mm.
mean? I did a budget every month, but I always went over budget, and not having someone to be accountable to didn't do anything to change the behavior. But when I hired somebody and we walked through that, it was, after I got over the slight embarrassment, but she was not judgmental. And I had to change the pattern of behaviors if I wanted to reach my financial goals. That was the only way I had to do it. And then I had to get myself a good therapist to address emotional issues that had been unaddressed in the past. So it's just really coming to that realization and really tackling things that may be counter to what it is you want to achieve is what I had to do. And it's not easy. It's not easy to admit.
Yeah, and I think particularly as Black women, and once again, I know we're not a monolith, everyone. So when I talk about Black women, I'm talking about us from the research standpoint. We tend to wear masks, right? And we know that we have to, the saying that we all learn, we have to work twice as hard to get what the next person has, which, let's be honest, is a white male in that respect. So, we have to present a certain way, and showing one of our quote unquote cracks or taking off the mask can be one, it counters the whole strong Black woman narrative that so many of us hold as our sense of self. And then I think what I found, because, we work with highly educated Black women like you, professionals, is that we are afraid sometimes to make mistakes or show that we don't know everything, or that we're struggling with something. Like some of that emotional spending, right? That's a coping mechanism, right? So some people do drugs and you were spending money, right? On Amazon. And so sometimes to share that, I think to be vulnerable in that way, it kind of counters how we are socialized to kind of present ourselves as Black women.
Absolutely. And I've always been held as the responsible one in the family. So when other people needed, they came to me. And so it was a burden. I was like, oh my God, now I've got myself in a jam. But once you get past all of that, to know that there's help out there and you're not alone. There's many people in similar situations. They may be struggling because they're afraid to really talk to someone about it. And because I get that a lot when I get, prospects on the phone, they really feel bad about taxes that may be owed or returns that they haven't filed. And I come to them from a very compassionate and empathetic place. I say, listen, this is fixable. We can work on this together. We can address this. And then moving forward, we're not going to fall into this problem again. I'm here to guide you, to help you. And I could just see and hear the sigh of relief just by me saying those words. We shouldn't feel ashamed. We shouldn't try to do this ourselves, because it's not going to work that way. If we really want to come out of it and achieve our goals, we're going to have to learn how to be vulnerable with the right people. People that we trust, and that's not going to spread your business or ridicule you. The truth of the matter is everybody is not going to want to see you win. It's just, that's part of the things that I had to realize that, people you've known for years, they know you got a business. Some people are secretly in the corner waiting for you to stumble. They may feel like, oh, how did you get this far? But they don't know all the hard work that you put into it.
Right.
They just see the kind of shiny stuff that you may be posting on social media, but they don't know that you're up late at night working on things and proposals and just strategies and stuff like that. So that was one of the things that I had to come to realize, that not everyone is going to want to see you win. And that's okay. You just want to be around the people that do want to see you win.
Right, your community is so important. So I know you talked about the financial challenges and kind of, I would like to call it your come to Jesus moment. So even if you're not a Christian, I think we all get the come to Jesus moment, right? You're like, ooh, I need to address this. Right. How did that impact your business? So I get how that was personal, so looking at how it was spending, but how did that influence how you showed up as an entrepreneur? So I just want to make the connection for folks.
It really made me more compassionate to people who had problems, like I mentioned, with their taxes, things that they neglected in the past. Now, of course, I didn't have that problem, but I had other issues that was impacting me negatively in terms of the goals that I wanted to achieve. So it really enabled me to empathize with people and to let them know that, hey, listen, you're not alone, and which people aren't, because I used to do tax auditing for 9 years. People in all different kind of circumstances with the IRS. So it's not a unique thing, but people feel a sense of shame and anxiety around that when they reveal it on the phone because, in order for me to really assess where you are, I have to know your current state. I have to ask questions about your finances and your taxes and all this stuff. So that really helped me. I was like, man, if I felt like this and I'm a accounting and finance professional, imagine with people who aren't in this field, how they're feeling about it, So it really, really put into perspective and context for me how people really, really need not just somebody just kind of crunching the numbers, but they need somebody to guide them and help them, advise them the best thing to do for their business.
I
That's
love
really
that.
where the value is.
I love that your experience helped you. In a way, it helped you to change the way you deliver your service or even help your service stand out. Because like you said, I'm not just running numbers for you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm helping you with the emotional aspect of this, not probably in a therapy sense, but being, knowing that you can talk to people at that level, that you know how that is for yourself, even if it was in a different area. So I think it validates, right, what people are going through, and they can show up differently. It builds a different connection with you as a service provider and helping them to see, like, no, we're changing behaviors
Right,
in addition to just the service. So with that, how have you integrated like work, business, life, self-care, and family? Like, what does that look like for you?
I need to do a better job of self-care because once I go in because I really like to have certain milestones but this human body needs care and nourishment and rest and sleep and sunlight. So I try to start my day off in meditation. I try to get in exercises. I'm in my exercise gear right now before noon, and just some quiet time to kind of renew and refresh my mind. Because there's always going to be stuff to do, right? Always.
Right.
Even if you have a team of people working on stuff, somehow always find things that I could be doing, right? Mm-hmm. It's really important because when I show up fully engaged with clients. And when I started out, I didn't have financial coaching as a service, but when I got into contact with more and more people who maybe weren't ready to hire me as a dedicated CPA, but they wanted to learn how to do personal budgeting and they wanted to have more control around their finances, then I started offering that services. And a lot of it's around mindset and goal setting and just being there to hold people accountable. I have people to hold me accountable to make sure that I'm staying on my health journey and to also make sure that I'm getting the rest that I need and time away from the business. And part of that is if you're not able to kind of step away for a few days or a week, then you need to hire people. It's time to hire people. You got that much coming in. It's time for you to get some assistance because you don't want to run yourself down to the ground, because then you're not good for your family. You're not good for your clients. Every day I'm reminded that I have to have balance.
And so with the reminder, so Karen, I don't know if you can give some like specific strategies that you use. I know you said so one is the accountability through a coach. Right. So I know you said every day you have to have balance. So is it like a schedule that you're following where you're putting in like work time, business time, self-care time, family time? So just want to give people something like maybe like tangible and yes. How you integrate it.
Yes, I do have it on my calendar every morning, yoga and meditation. It pops up on all my devices. I go hours and hours without drinking water. So I started using this drink water app to remind me, that I need to get in my water, especially during this quarantine. When the quarantine started, I started sitting out on my patio in the morning to get some sunshine, because I was just feeling like the walls were closing in, So I try to do that. And sometimes, even if I ignore all of that, my body will tell me, I just started feeling not well. I need to stop what I'm doing, need to breathe, calm down. You won't be any good to anybody if you're not well. So sometimes my body will give me those reminders as well. If I'm just kind of in tune to how I'm feeling, or if a headache comes on or a body ache or something like that, or I'm just feeling kind of rugged, then I'll say, oh, I didn't do this today. Oh, I didn't get to that, So I try to use technology to remind me, but my body also reminds me as well.
Yeah, yoga meditation helps with that mindfulness. So it helps you to
Mm-hmm.
be more aware of, wait, I don't feel good or what's off. Or then you can go check your calendar. Like, what did I miss today?
Right,
Or what do
right.
I need to do? Right? What do I need in this moment to add or switch gears? So it speaks to that. So thank you for giving us some of those tangible things. And then how do you actually set goals? I know you talked a lot about goals and, getting support with that. So how do you set goals, execute, and stay focused?
I set goals, start with my yearly goals, and then I have quarterly milestones
Mhm.
that I aim to achieve. And then as things happen in the business, I may need to revisit those. But I have a business advisor and worked with several business coaches in the past. They hold me accountable because I'm a money person. I see, I could see how I am. But there are things that even I need help and assistance on, because I'm an introvert, I would shy away from being upfront. It's just more comfortable to be in the background. So if I have business advisors saying, listen, if you want to meet these goals, then you have to do A, B, and C. You're not doing A, B, and C. You need to move past your comfort. And so having people to keep me accountable to those goals really, really helps because you can write them down and just never address them, never achieve them, and just
Right.
every year write the same stuff down. I have vision boards up on the wall. You're just changing the year out so you really have to do the work. You have to do the work. And if the pain of not achieving your goals is great enough, you'll start getting the work done.
I love this echoing of get support. And one thing I love to tell our clients is you have a right to ask for help. You don't have to do everything yourself, or we get this false sense of like, oh, the responsible thing to do is everything. But as you can see, I feel like it's echoed through everything that you said is get help, right? If you're writing these goals all the time, and you're not achieving them, there's some blocks to implementation, right? So get
Right.
help with someone who can maybe help you release those blocks, but then have that accountability and support. So I love that that's being echoed through everything
Yes.
that you're saying. So I feel like you shared so much wisdom here, but particularly in just closing, like what is one piece of wisdom you would share with a woman who is frustrated building her business and desires to become that rockstar CEO? Another way to kind of frame it is, what do you wish someone told you when you started this journey?
I wish someone would have told me that it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work and it takes resources to even start a business. That's a misnomer that people think, oh, I could just start a business and I don't have to invest in myself or I don't have to. You do. You do. And you have to, before you even start, develop a plan or how you're going to fund the business, because there's some things that you have to put in place before you get the first customer, before the first client. And so I think being service based, I thought, oh, well, I already know the subject matter. But there's some other things around business that I didn't know and I had to learn. So I had to hire a coach. And that first coach wasn't cheap, but I really gravitated towards her and she had the things that I needed. So I found the resources because I really wanted to make this work. That's what I think people should know before they get started, that it's not easy. Running a business takes money and you need help. You got to have help.
I'll just close on this note with, what is your personal mantra, like a motto, saying, or quote that you live by?
I feel like the universe brings you what you need. If you put out there what it is that you need and you have good intentions, that it'll come to you. I believe in that. How you treat people, how you move around in the world, the good things that you do won't go unnoticed. The universe will reward you. I truly believe that.
I echo that too. That if we get a vision, right, I believe the provisions will come to
That's
help
right.
achieve that. So I definitely echo what you're saying. Thank you so much for sharing your tips around managing cash flow during periods of uncertainty and just sharing your journey with us. It's such a rich journey. And the things that you learn and how you address business from the very beginning, I think is so impactful. So if people want to connect with you and get some of your business coaching and financial coaching, how would they stay connected?
They can follow me. I have Instagram, Facebook at Stella Ledgers, Twitter at Stella Ledgers. My website is stellaledgers.com. And I'm also on Instagram at Angela the CFO.
I love it. I love it. We'll make sure all that information is in the show notes in there. And I will also put the links to the episodes of 10 Steps to Virus-Proof Your Business. And since Angela mentioned one on selling, I'll even put the ones of like to sell or not to sell during crisis. That you also have those additional resources that we have on the podcast. But thank you so much for coming. I appreciate your time.
It's my pleasure.
And so I want to leave everyone with our motto that power is the ability to create your reality. So go forth and be powerful, sister. And we'll talk to you soon. Oh girl, the episode stopped, but the party is not over. I want you to go ahead and subscribe, like, and rate this show. Leave us a comment sharing your takeaways. And when you're done with that, come on over to blackwomanceo.com, join our movement. And when you do that, you'll get the special invitation to join us in our community. Well, I would love to put a face to that name, girl. So this is Quanisha signing off, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Peace and love.